All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Be Fit podcast. I'm your host, Connor Murphy, joined here with the newly Sarah Mangelson.
Yes.
And also known as Sarah White, a.k.a. the Coastal Yogi. And not that I don't love having her around or having her on the show, but a very specific reason today is we are going to talk about the first of the Be Fit Adventures retreats down in the Dominican Republic at the Margaritaville, a 5-star resort in Cap Cana, that Sarah is going to be behind the helm, running the whole thing.
Heck yeah. It's going to be a blast.
So kind of the point behind this, we want to talk about, why retreats, what it brings to the table relative to just your normal practice or training, but also really want to talk about how we felt and how Sarah felt about the resort, the amenities, what it's going to entail, and then answer maybe any of the questions that you had about the retreat, or if you didn't have any questions, now you know everything about it. So let's kick it off about your experience in retreats, because the first person I went to when it came to yoga was you. I see you doing a lot of different stuff, and from feedback that I see from others, whether it's with comments, whether it's with anything that's posted as far as feedback, it's just like this incredible experience. So how did you get into retreats, and then kind of what is your feeling behind them?
Yeah. So I went to college out in San Diego, and that's where I did my yoga training, and that's where I met my yoga mentor. And I was a senior in college, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and I just saw this post about this weekend retreat in Temecula. I was like, cool, like down the road, sounds like a low barrier to entry, like just try this out. And I went by myself and had the best experience, and that was kind of what got me into the retreat space. I'd wanted to recreate that experience for my students. And from there, now I think I've been on 10 retreats as a participant and been a co-lead or a lead on about 15. So clearly a big part of why I do what I do.
That's amazing. So when you talk about as a participant, you went the first weekend the first one in Temecula. That's just like a weekend retreat. How is it as a participant? Talk about your experience, or I want to hear about your experience like as a participant rather than where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, as a participant, it's pretty cool to be able to go somewhere and just sign up and know that everything's going to be planned out for you. So that was one of the things I loved most about it as someone who's a type A planner, like just getting to turn that off for a second and just, open up to what's going to be that experience was really cool. But also getting to go through the workshops is something you don't always get to do in a yoga class. There's not always time for that extra added element. So there's that level of connection where you're getting to connect to maybe the person you always take Monday night 5:30 class with, but maybe you've never had a conversation with them about who they are or what they do. So getting to connect with your peers, getting to connect with the instructor. For me, especially doing more virtual now, I don't always get to meet my students. So getting to have them in that space, and anytime you're in a new place, I think you really get to change your perspective, and you get out of this hamster wheel of your day-to-day 9 to 5 and get to really see what else is out there and maybe change the way you're thinking or get to set some new goals. So that's another part that I really love.
That first retreat that you went on, did you know anyone else participating in it?
I didn't, which is crazy.
I think crazy, but also very unique in the setting that like there were no prior expectations of you.
No, not at all.
And when you talk about kind of breaking out of that like basic 9 to 5, whether it's 9 to 5 or really, I think when 9 to 5 is referenced, it's really talking about just a daily routine.
Totally.
And to be able to almost like reset and meet new people and be, who you truly are, who you truly want to be in that perspective, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Have you been on them where you do know a lot of people?
Yeah. So I went with my friend Juliana, who's taught classes with me here. She went to Ibiza with me, and it was led by one of my mentors. And that was really awesome as well, right? Because I only knew her in the group of 30 people. So it was nice to have like a roommate that I, knew if I needed just some time away, but also to get to open up to all these new people. There's totally benefits of going by yourself and going with a friend. Both are really great.
I don't think I've definitely never been on a yoga retreat, but I've seen the feedback that comes from them. And I've done a lot of like really cool fitness gatherings to where afterwards it's, you have this whole like like new outlook and this like re-energized like drive back to fitness. But I think there's something special about the yoga side of things, about what you were talking about, what you don't have time for in a typical yoga class, or what I see, at like the last maybe like 10 minutes of class, to where there's like this like shavasana, and then just like even just like the words of confirmation that you've given in classes that I've taken. It's like that kind of changes things. And to be able to dive so much deeper into that, why do you think that these yoga retreats are so big or such like a prominent discipline in this retreat space?
I think part of it is that we don't really slow down often, right? And even if you say that you're going to slow down and, take a weekend off at your house, you're still surrounded by the same surroundings, right? You're still going to have the same stressors around that you can't really fully get into a new headspace. So being able to travel, right away, you're taking that physical element out of it. And then especially being with new people too, like you said, like you get to express your most authentic version of yourself. Or if you're working on finding that, you now have a lot of like space to do so. And meaning like in classes and in workshops, like all of that is meant to get to the root of who you are and what you want and what your purpose is on this planet, and in a way that's not, you aren't your career, you aren't your family, you aren't your friends, you are you, and what are the things that you truly value.
I'm, for one, excited about, I know we did our market trip down there. But when I think of, the yoga side of things, and I think about the resort, I was honestly initially a little bit nervous because of the word Margaritaville.
Yes.
You hear Margaritaville and I'm thinking, it's like the song or kind of like the cheesy, like typical,
yes,
like Jimmy Buffett style thing. And then, at least my reaction when we pull onto this resort, it's like, okay, this is not what I expected.
No.
And so much more targeted towards that, like, that kind of calm presence, that like beautiful, not like loud, obnoxious music everywhere, but just like very, very pristine atmosphere, to where I was a little bit nervous about that. But then getting there was like, okay, this is going to be the perfect place for it. Did you have similar feelings?
Totally. And I think Jen, who's from Celebration Travel, one of our partners, she put it best when she was saying, it's laid back luxury, and you truly feel that when you're there. It's this laid back vibe that you want for a retreat, right? You don't want to feel like, oh, I need to stress to get to the next activity and do all these things. And it's one of the first retreat places that I've been where I felt like there were so many places for us to even do yoga, right? Like we scouted out like 15 different spots. And so it's going to be really cool to get to curate that experience for the retreat participants. And it's just a really incredible space.
What was your favorite part about talking about like day one where we toured all the different places? I want to hear kind of like your favorite experience and favorite, what you're most looking forward to teaching, what location?
I think it's a toss up between, there's one that's like right by the beach. It's not on the beach, right? So you don't have to deal with like the sand in your mat type of thing, but there's like this wooden area that really looks out on the beach that's gorgeous. And then also the roof deck. I could see us planning some epic sunset or sunrise type things up there. And so both of those are going to be really special.
I was going to say the same. I think we're referencing the same place, to where it was like over to the left, yes, by like, there's like the Azul area to where there's that pool.
Yes.
When I looked at that, I was like, yeah, this is,
this is, no, it's perfect.
And then outside of that, along with the retreat, it is, a yoga retreat, to where that's the main discipline, that's the main practice. That's where we're going to have, the workshops and everything that you're doing, mm-hmm, that elevates the experience about that. But then everything else that the resort and then what we have planned brings to it. What was your favorite part outside of just the resort about the things we did?
So I think we had a similar sentiment on this, but at first when we were looking through all the activities, there was this thing called the skate park. And I, at first I kind of rolled my eyes a little. I'm like, is this going to be cheesy? Like, cool, there's a zip lining, but like, is that all that there is to it? Could it fill a full day? And we got there and I was so surprised by how much there was to do, how different it was. Like, you're not just zip lining, you can zip line into the water, and like you can go down into these cenotes and, see the animals. There was just so many different things that became part of that day. So I'm now really excited to get to take people there and experience like their reaction there as well, because that was really fun.
I got to be honest, when we were first talking about it, I thought she said that we're going to have a day at the skate park. I was like, that's really cool because, I skateboard. So I was like, that's an odd thing to, and then once I saw down there that it was skate park, and again, the same thing. Yeah. It's like, are we going to go there and there's going to be like, this like small little area where they're trying to like make something out of nothing. Yes. And you walk in there and the first thing, there's the like attraction where like all the monkeys that were running around. I could have stayed there the entire time. I'm like, these are so entertaining. Them. And then, all the whole like zip line adventures. What did you, a cenote? Is that what it's called?
Cenote, yeah. Remember we went.
For common folk, we call that just a
cave,
a natural cave where there's water underneath. I was like, that sounds way better.
Well, I went to Tulum this year, and so I learned what a cenote is, and now I'm just showing off saying cenote.
And what we also learned is that the most ideal shoe to wear on those would be Crocs, because you can go in the water, which we did, and you have to worry about cutting your feet on the rocks. You can wear them in land. It's it's a versatile shoe.
It's trying to sell me on the Crocs still.
We're gonna get her there.
Yeah.
And then the boat day, which I'm glad we went on, because as opposed to just being like everything we did was perfect. Yeah. Like when we went on the boat, it wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be or what we wanted it to be. And what I love about working with Jen, working with John, working with Celebration Travel, whose partner company is Destination Weddings, they do this all the time, is being able to pivot, being able to say, hey, this really wasn't, like snorkeling was fun, but coming from someone who is, lived in St. Thomas, it wasn't, there's like, the guys are like feeding fish and you're like, this fish, I got a starfish. Yeah. It's like here. But then making it more like a group activity to where it'll be a private boat to where it'll only be us that go on there. And then we make it more of like a day on the water. We're on the boat where, the water is absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And then almost like if that's the alley you want to go down, like a little bit of a booze cruise type thing, switch up like the alcohols a little bit to make it a little bit more kind of health conscious rather than just like sugar and rum.
Yeah, I think I kept like holding back. I actually didn't really drink that much that day because I was like, I'm not a big soda girl. So I was like, it's not going to work. But like you said, we made some changes. It's going to be all put together in time. So
it's so interesting to where it was like, it'll be you go snorkeling and then you go kind of hang out in super shallow water. Obviously
that part was cool.
Crystal clear water. And like that was the part I was like, can we just stay here?
Yeah, for most of it.
The guy working the cruise brought out this like little flotation that had like a cooler of ice in the middle and then just like all mixers and then he just go around and just start. Yeah, and he didn't have a light hand, that's for sure.
No, that was definitely the highlight of that boat cruise was that shallow area because it's just like you could literally stand there all day. It's a sandbar basically, but it was awesome. And
then I think like going along like the island and stuff too, just getting a chance to see it. Which, noteworthy is Cap Cana is a section of Punta Cana that is kind of like a private sector that's just for a lot of these like higher end resorts. So, one of my concerns too is, hey, if we want to go for a run, if we want to do this stuff, is it an area to where there's, like a low crime area? Is it safe? And I mean, every single person on there was like, especially in that area, very, very safe.
Totally. It's a second layer of security, essentially. Like, obviously, when you go to a resort, you have that gate to go through. But Cap Cana was created to have a second, portal of a gated community. And then even the fact that that hotel is literally just had people coming into it in November. Like, we're going to be there with pretty much within the first year that they've opened, which is huge, too.
Yes. So, brand new 5-star resort.
Yeah.
Rooms were, when we were walking in there and they were like, this is your mini bar. I'm like, that's not a mini bar. Those are full bottle. And they're like, yeah, and it's all yours. Like there's no extra charge for it. And if you do drink it, then you get like point credits to go get more. And I was like, okay, they really do the all-inclusive well there.
Totally. And I think that's another awesome element of a retreat. Like you're already coming in because you want things to be planned and stress-free. So going in knowing like, oh, all my food, all my beverages already covered, I can really just like relax and enjoy myself. Like that's a huge added element too.
What was your favorite dining experience?
That's a toss-up between the steakhouse, which I don't eat steak, but they still had amazing seafood and other things.
I ate the steak.
You ate the steak.
It was incredible.
And so did Zach, my husband. And then also the Italian night was awesome at the end too. I was really surprised. Like, it was awesome.
I think the atmosphere, well, obviously the food was incredible there, but the atmosphere, and I think that's something to to where you start getting like-minded people gathering together. And obviously with a retreat or with an all-inclusive retreat, the yoga is included in all of this stuff that makes it different from you just going to this resort. But I think one element that's kind of overlooked is that you're going to be around, 30 other people that care about the same things you do, or at least care about themselves enough to take the time to practice yoga and do these types of things to where it's like, sitting in that room where it's like the conversation is so easy. It's not just like a bunch of random people to where it's like, oh, we're paired with these people today. I don't know where they're from, what their interest is, at least that one common interest, to where it was that it just made things so simple.
And that's the biggest thing, like, of these trips that you come back remembering. Like, yes, you'll remember the place and some of the experiences, but really what makes or breaks a trip is the group, the overall group dynamic. And I was just leading a trip in Portugal a couple of weeks ago, and that was like our biggest takeaway, right? Like, there's always going to be things you can't predict, right? Something goes wrong with the room, something goes wrong, like in any aspect of the trip, but you're always going to come back to, but the group dynamic was like the most special component. And that's what a lot of these sessions are designed to do, is like give you that opportunity to meet people. And I think our group size is going to be really conducive to that too. Like, we want you to know everyone's name by the end of the trip. Like, we want you to know at least one thing about them. And that's what we'll be working on the facilitator side to create.
I love that. And we talked about dining, but like what are they called? Like the buffet area, which use that term loosely because this was like a very, very nice restaurant. Again, everything there, it's not just like me trying to like hype it up. Like, it was incredible. And the buffet area, to where we'll have like our own sectioned off areas, was unbelievable. That was some of my favorite because you get to pick and choose something different. They have like the juice bar, they have
smoothie bar, like they'll make whatever you want on
mimosa
spot.
bar,
like mimosa bar, margarita bar if you're that.
Everything at any point in time.
Yes.
Now, on like the group setting thing, where I train is a little bit different. I mean, there's so many similarities with any kind of discipline of training, but when I was competing for the CrossFit Games, I remember one of my mentors, my boss, would always say, it doesn't matter what you do or where you do it, as much as it's how you do it and who you do it with. And I think that is an incredible thing too, to where more so ours was like this shared suffering. Like, if I could only do CrossFit by myself, I would never do it. Like, it is like, no, it sucks in that. But when you have those people to where you have these experiences with, it makes it so much better, which is why I'm so excited to be a part and just to be fully immersed in, obviously from the facilitator and planning side of things. But like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be like hopping in. Like, I want to like get everything from it and get everything out of it. Totally.
And it's cool to think that, there's going to be people from all over. Already we have people from all over the country right now that are signed up. And it's cool to think that like, it's going to be all these people who maybe you've been taking live classes with for months, or maybe you came to a big night event with and you just don't know them yet. And it's going to be a really, really cool mix of people. And like you said, like, definitely people over even the place. It's going to be a really awesome experience.
Now, this isn't necessarily for everyone on this, but we had our skate park day.
Oh yeah.
We had to go back a little bit early from it because we had to do like the COVID testing thing, which is to get back, which at this point in time, you don't have to have, you guys had your at-home test kits, which we should have had. And, but when we got back, I mean, I always say like, oh, this was my favorite part, but I think like the unplanned stuff and why we had decided to like keep all of the normal resort activities available for people to participate in. I want you to talk about after we got back from the skate park and we were like, all right, well, I'll go back. We'll just kind of do our own thing for a little bit. Yet we all happened to have met in the same area without planning it. Let's talk about that part.
Yeah, no. So we ended up at the pool bar, as one would at Margaritaville, and they had this game starting at Is this where you're going?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
game starting. I'm like just double checking. And it was this like Wheel of Fortune type wheel situation. And it was all different drinks that you would have to drink depending where it landed. And so at first we're just like observing. We're like, oh, this is pretty good, pretty cool. And then all of a sudden Connor's like, I want to get involved. I want to get up there. So him and
Naturally.
my husband decided to get in line and get involved. And it was just like, it was so fun, right? We're just sitting there, we're hanging, and getting to like watch that whole thing go down was definitely a highlight.
And if you've ever been to an all-inclusive resort before, they have all of these different activities that they do. And it's like activities, whatever
Water
it was going to
aerobics,
be was okay. The pole dancing.
Pole dancing, true, too.
I might have participated in that, might not have. I don't know. But the people that are doing that, like those guys were electric.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I'm really remembering.
And just like learn how to play it. You know, they know how to play the crowd. They know what they're there for. And so instead of it being like, hey, for this retreat, we're going to just jam pack everything to where you have this itinerary and go. It's like you have the availability to go do these things. And even though it was unplanned, it's like we were sitting there just to, I mean, the guy who like belly flopped in the water afterwards and
Unreal.
like they got water in everyone's drinks, and like it was just like laughing fun. We were hanging out in the hot tub, going back and forth, the music there. So it's, you know, you can make it what you want, but you just have the availability, which is what I'm really excited about, and why it's like I think it's unique to not have so much stuff planned.
And that was like on a day where I think we had gone to skate park, or we had gone somewhere. So like that was already packed into it. Plus we have, I think, one day where there's going to be complete like free time at the resort to enjoy the resort. So there'll be plenty of time to get to be there. Also the spa, like on the other end of the spectrum, like if you're there to relax and recharge, like there's that too. And I think we all like really enjoyed our services there too, which was awesome.
That reminds me, I want to put, just the spa video that Sam took on there, because it was when we did our walkthrough of the spa.
Insane.
It was like just like the ice bath where you could like get your own ice from the air. I mean, there was stuff that is over my head or beyond my my capacity and relaxing, but
like light therapy. There was like every type of room that you can think of at a spa. They had it. That
was nice. Even like the gym area there was nice. If you're a fitness crazy person and want to work out before the day.
It was great. Yeah. And Connor even got, my husband doesn't really work out that much on his own. He doesn't like to unprompted, but Connor got him in there, and like all getting even to do those like small group workouts. Like that's another thing about this. Like you don't have to be someone who does fitness every day to go on this. You could just be interested in doing more movement. Whether you've taken classes before or haven't, I think that's also important to mention. Like you can make this as much as you want, right? Like we're not going to sit there with a checklist. Like, did you show up to day 3 yoga? Like you can skip things if you want, and you can craft your own type of experience. But that's definitely a good thing to mention too.
I loved, and maybe this can lead into, another podcast between us, but so Jen, I ended up setting up with the Byron girls. She's still training there.
She is
loving it.
That's awesome. Good.
But we would do these kind of group workouts because I was gonna do my workout in the morning. Everyone else, no matter what had happened the night before, we're like, hey, if we're committing to it in the morning, we'll do it. So we do our workout, and then afterwards I was like, hey, like Sarah, like we do this like CrossFit workout, and then Sarah would go into like the side area, and obviously having knowledge and not just like being able to teach one style of yoga class would like take us through this like cool down stretching period, and something I definitely overlook. But one of those things where I was like, wow, that was like, I feel better than I ever would have outside of that. So just a different dynamic in that, and how much I enjoyed the yoga side of things as someone who's, just like a dedicated, like CrossFit psychopath, but to be able to like participate in that was really cool and just kind of eye opening for me. I've done a bunch of different yoga classes before. I actually remember taking your core power yoga class years ago before we were going to start bringing you into Reebok, and oh my gosh, what
a ride.
I don't know if I felt out of place, but I was just sweating more than everyone else was. And I'm not, and you're like, no, and I'm like, yes, there was a point in time where a nose droplet came off my nose, hit my mat, and splashed other people people were looking at me, and I was like, I promise guys, I don't know what's happening. But.
Yeah, that was the good pre-COVID experience of like, and I remember being nervous. I think it was Olivia who's like, oh, I'm bringing Connor from Reebok is going to check out the class. And I was like, okay, like, I hope he knows what he's getting into. I was like, she's like, just throw mats in the middle of the class. Like, he'll be fine. And like, of course you crushed it, but it was just, I can't even imagine what it was like walking into that packed room. Like, okay, we're doing it.
I was like, oh, no, it's full. I guess we'll just take the next class. And they're like, oh no, there's plenty of, there's like 20 more people came in there. And I'm like,
inches between mats.
Oh, it was, it was really cool though. And,
Yeah.
and it just like, just that transfer over to where, even though it's not necessarily my forte of yoga, like I'm really looking forward to meeting and getting to, learn their names, learn things about them, but just that like-minded people who care about health and wellness enough to be able to prioritize that on a vacation.
Yeah. And this is a great one too, because some of the ones that I do are, far international, and it's like a week that you're there, or like 10 days. And like, I feel like the 5 day is like the perfect amount. And especially like it's between the holidays, like it's just this moment to recharge. And, there's the 2 travel days, and then there's the 3 big days where we have a lot going on, and it's like, it's going to fly by. So we're really going to make the most of like every moment on that.
And the flight we flew direct, right? Yeah. Just quick in.
Not sure if it's the same now, but either way, like it'll be, whether it's from here or New York, whatever, it'll work out.
And I think, right now, if you try to book, I think because it's off season, you have to go. But I think when December rolls back around, so if you plan on signing up for it, do it now and look at flights.
Yeah.
We kind of booked our flights last minute to go on this one, so it was a bit more expensive. But doing that ahead of time, the airport was super easy. There's a shuttle service to Margaritaville.
It's only like 10 minutes away to the hotel or whatever it was. It was very close.
I remember like timing everything out to be like, I want to know all of this stuff. Because they're like, it's 15 minutes. And I was like,
is it?
I used to live in St. Thomas. 15 minutes is either 15 minutes or 45 minutes. And it was just like quick. It was, I want to say it was like 10 minutes to Cap Cana, and then like 7 minutes from there to get to the resort.
Yeah.
Private check-ins for the entire group. That was another thing about the skate park too. We were kind of like waiting in lines.
Yeah.
Sarah is the worst chooser of lines, by the way.
I did pick the worst line twice.
And it was like, we're going to wait. I'm like, we can just wait here. And it's like, I'm going to wait in this one. And then like this line goes up. It was like a movie. And then it's like, I'm going to wait in this one.
It's always my fault. Always my fault.
And we went through.
We're going to bypass that though this time, right?
That was the big thing. It's like, there'll be like the group check-in. And then it was like the check out was like, oh, you have to check. I'm like, no, I just want to go back, man.
We're out. Yeah, no. And those, the wristbands too for the hotel are sick for just keeping you like, everyone loses keys. No one keeps track of room keys, but having it on your wrist and just like being able to get back in was huge.
They give you, it like doesn't come off, but you like scan yourself in with that. You can do like go to any different area.
Yeah.
And when they say, all inclusive, I always get nervous because I'm like, is this an area to where it's like, am I paying for all inclusive? And then there's like the second tier of you have to pay for these, or the second tier to where it's like people are expecting you to tip or do all of this stuff. And this was a pleasant experience to where it was like, whatever you wanted, you paid for it. This is the 5-star resort. Like, you don't have to bring your wallet out. You don't have to bring any of this stuff out. Like, this is what's included. And that was, enjoyable from like the drinking side of things, but also like the eating side.
Totally.
From all of the different restaurants they have on the resort. I'm bummed I didn't get to go to the Land Shark to get like the burger.
Know. Yeah, having like a brewery there, that was really cool too. That was one of the ones we didn't hit, but we'll probably end up doing at some point on this next round.
If only we could go back.
I know. We are. Surprise. And I feel like we tried out, we tried most of the restaurants there that we could, but because it's a shared property with their sister property, like there were other restaurants we didn't even, get to check out yet, that there's just so much on that property because it's the two together too.
And it, when they were like, we're at capacity right now, I'm like, it feels like there's no one here. Yeah,
no, there was tons of space, like really well thought. I mean, pools everywhere. Like you just turn to any direction, there's another pool like next to you. So
where we got to stay is because it was, just the, like the inspection trip, they put us in like the little suite side of things to where each one had its own individual pool. And then there was like a swim up bar that only you could access. And it's just one of those things where like, I'm like sitting here and I'm like, this is incredible. Yeah. Like this, like if we just wanted to like cancel everything else and just sit by this pool bar, like I'm okay with that. Yeah. It's crazy that we get to go back again. It's like, and relive this, and with more people and like a big group, like it's going to be awesome. The dates are December 8th through 12th. Yep. Right? Thursday to a Monday. 11, 12. Over the span of a weekend in December. You can book or find more information out if you go to bignightfitness.com. You'll see a little drop-down tab, BFit Adventures. It has a ton of information. It has information on Sarah. You can always go follow her at the Coastal Yogi and get more information about her background, about how immersed she is into yoga, these retreats, learn about the resort, learn about, kind of everything that you have going on there.
Yeah.
Last thing I kind of wanted to touch on is, it's a yoga retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So for like workshops and that type of stuff, for someone who's like, hey, I've done a couple yoga classes, I like it, I like working with like-minded people, what can someone expect from how often, what are the classes going to look like, what times, and all of that stuff? What can someone look forward to from the actual fitness, from the yoga perspective?
Totally. So there'll be at least like one thing going on every day. Usually once we get past the travel day, it'll usually be in the morning, not terribly early, but it'll be a mix of yoga or yoga sculpt classes depending on the day. And then we'll have usually like a 15-ish minute type of workshop at the end of class on each of those days. And then I'm hoping on day one, we can do something really awesome at sunset up on that roof deck, maybe. So we'll still have some type of, gentle movement on the first day, but we'll definitely ramp it up as the week gets going. And yeah, so something to look forward to every day. And if you've taken Sculpt or haven't taken Sculpt, I have a lot of stuff online, free classes and everything if you want to check it out. I'm also doing an event with Big Night on August 11th on the Encore lawn. So if you're local to Boston, definitely come check that out. We'd love to have you.
In that event, two things. One, that event is free for participants.
Oh yeah, free.
So that's one that we're working with our partnership with Big Night Fitness partnership with Encore, is to really get our top tier instructors more exposure from the Everett area, get people onto the property at Encore Boston Harbor, which that South Lawn is just unbelievably beautiful. Hurley took a class there.
You did?
I did, yeah, a little kickboxing class.
We'll post some pictures of that. We'll let some pictures flash up of that. He was looking really good. But then I wanted to talk about one more thing, and this is someone who's like, hey, I want to join, but I'm nervous that it's a bunch of people who are committed to yoga, and I'm going to sit there and I can't touch my toes. I can't do a headstand. I can't do any of this stuff. Like, how do I prepare for this? Or what can you do to speak to those people who are maybe nervous?
Yeah, totally normal to be nervous. I think that, every class, and one of the things that I think is special about the way I teach is that there's always going to be levels. There's always going to be options, and the whole class experience you should feel included in, so I'll always find a way to help you out, whether it's injuries, whether it's that you're newer to the classes, there's going to be something for you. And if you want to prepare ahead of time, you can always check out classes, whether it be yoga or yoga sculpt. But yoga is definitely a good spot to start because all of the foundational poses in sculpt are based on yoga poses. So that would be a good thing to check out.
Awesome. And for someone who is a newbie in yoga, I was always nervous that people were going to be doing all sorts of stuff that either I wasn't going to be able to do, or they'd be looking at me like, oh, look at this idiot, and he can't even down dog. No. But I can tell you that I have not seen a single other person that I've been in class with, and I've been in class with hundreds of other people, because I'm just focused on just trying to do the right thing, and I'm like looking up and being like, what does she want me to do at this point in time? No one cares. No one else is looking at you, judging, being like, oh.
Nope.
Tight hamstrings over there. Can't even fucking tree pose. Get out of here. No, it's
the point is to focus on yourself, right? Like, you're journeying inward versus outward. So overall, as long as you're focusing on you and you're getting something out of it and you're feeling better when you walk out, that's the overall goal.
Well, I am incredibly excited for the trip. If you have any questions, you can always drop them in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can reach out to Sarah again at the Coastal Yogi. You can always reach out to us, as you know, at Big Night Fitness. Any questions, comments you have, feel free to drop them in. We're so excited to see you there. There's only 30 spots available for this one, so it's something that you'll probably have to get on quick if you want to reserve your spot. There'll be a wait list that goes on there, but I think that the quicker you act, the better it's going to be. And I promise you will not regret that decision. It's going to be incredible.
No regrets. Can't wait.
All right, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.